Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 16 of the Realtor Nation Podcast. My name is Ian Hoover, and I am the host of this podcast, and I'm very excited to bring to you the Realtor Nation, a show to help you improve your business. Today's episode is very special. We have a guy coming in who is making major moves in the Pittsburgh real estate market, and we're going to sit down and talk to him and hopefully learn some things that we can implement into our own businesses. So I'm very excited to have Jesse Wig with me. He is one of the owners of Lifespace, which is a real estate brokerage here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And he also is the sole owner of Atlas Estates.
Correct.
Okay, yep. I got that right.
It is.
Doing some big things. Welcome, Jesse.
Thank you very much for having me.
Oh, thanks for being here and actually coming to Carnegie. A little bit of a drive for you.
Yeah, not bad.
So tell us a little bit about how you got started in real estate.
Okay. I have a bad habit of telling really long stories.
That's good. We like long stories.
I'm going to do my best to summarize it, which won't be short. But I went to school for criminal justice. I have a bachelor's degree in criminal justice, and I was working in that field for probably about 3 years. And it was a pretty negative atmosphere, and I got over it pretty quick. So I had a buddy that was in Pittsburgh. I was living in Erie, Pennsylvania at the time. I had a buddy that was in Pittsburgh flipping houses. And I said, hey, man, I want out of my job. What can you offer? Can I come work with you? And he's like, I can pay you $10 an hour to do punch list stuff on houses. Okay. So I quit my job. Not that I was killing it, but I was on salary. I could sleep at that unit and get paid, there was good things happening on a professional side. So I quit that job. And for 6 months, I drove back and forth from Erie, Pennsylvania to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, which is about a 2-hour drive. Mm-hmm. So I'd drive down and I would work long days and just doing all this punch list stuff, And there was one specific moment when I was there that I questioned if I did the right thing, because we found, or Chris is his name, he found tile 3 layers down in this house that was 1 inch by 1 inch tiles in a 10-foot by 10-foot kitchen. And the agent at the time was like, you have to keep these original tiles. They're so huge. Well, every grout line was pure black, and so they tried acid cleaners, this and that, and it's not going to work. So what I had to do was I laid on my chest on a pillow for a week and used a dental tool, and I scraped out all those grout lines. And at that point I was like, why did I quit my job? What am I doing?
Wait. So 40 hours of you on your stomach with a pillow.
Yeah.
Scraping.
It was literally awful. And here's the thing. What was probably worse about it was that, it was in the middle of the winter. I had the heat on, cranking. But those tile floors were so cold that I would put long sleeves on my arms and put pillows on my chest because I was laying on it. It was so cold. So, at that point I was like, what am I doing? Well, anyways, I worked with Chris, his name's Chris Bennett, for 6 months on that house. And I was like, hey man, I want to flip a house. And he's like, oh, just find some private money and do this, do that. So I'm up in Erie living there. Remember, I was driving back and forth. I found a house. I met an agent. Her name's Marissa, who's now my fiance.
Okay.
Yeah. And met an agent, and she found me a house, bought the house, coordinated some private money. Me and my buddy flipped this house from YouTube videos. And basically anything and everything that could go wrong did go wrong. I had no experience. I didn't calculate for closing costs and our carrying costs, and I didn't calculate for going over budget, literally everything. I knew nothing, and when that house did eventually sell, I lost $43,000 on the first house I flipped.
You lost $43,000?
I did, yeah. So,
well, tell me about that. So how did you, it sounds like you weren't really well off financially. So how did you overcome a $43,000
yeah,
loss?
Okay, so this is what happened. Okay, bought the house. There's a formula you should go by when you buy a house.
Sure.
I didn't go by that formula because a private lender, he gave me money up to 65% loan to value of the actual repair value. Well, I went to a buddy and I was like, hey, I need another $20,000 to do these renovations. So right off the get-go, I was more into the property than I should have been, But after the renovations were done, okay, the house is done, and when it's finished, I'm living in Erie at the time. Well, at that point, when I finished the house, I didn't think I was going to lose money yet. You know what I mean? It didn't sell yet. I thought I was going to make money still. I thought I was going to sell for 160 or 170. But I knew I wanted to keep going in real estate, and so I got my real estate license and I moved to Pittsburgh right away. So it sat on the market for another year and a half before it sold. and like we were dropping the price, but I was like paying all these closing costs. In the middle of the winter, the window dropped and it froze the pipes and it flooded living area.
Yeah.
So like it was just a nightmare. Well, here's the thing. After 3 or 4 months of it sitting on the market, I was starting to get the indication I'm going to lose money. Okay. And I wasn't going to have enough money when I come to the closing table to pay everyone back. So at this point, I'm in Pittsburgh. I'm living by myself. My fiance didn't move down at the time. I get my real estate license, and I'm not kidding. It was every day, all day, 24/7, just real estate. Okay. Working as an agent, meeting with people, networking, learning construction, like doing everything. I knew I wanted to continue to flip, but I knew I needed to learn more, you know?
Right.
This house didn't sell yet, but I'm gaining a lot of traction as an agent. And I'm doing some good deals. I'm making some decent money. And I knew I was getting prepared to take this hit when the house does sell. So I found a house that I bought for like $5,000, but I knew it was worth like 15. I got a good deal there. I paid off my vehicle at the time, and I was like, okay, when the time comes, it's easy to get car loans. I knew I could sell my vehicle for some cash and get a car loan afterwards. You know what I mean? So when the time came that we were going to the closing table, I owned 2 properties. Okay. I went and refinanced one. I was able to cash out like $20,000. And then I sold my vehicle that I got like $6,000 for. And then whatever I came up with like 20-some thousand, like 25, 26,000. Okay. And of the 43, paid that to an investor. And then I said, hey, investor, I own this other property. Can you attach a lien to this other property? I own it free and clear. It was worth like 15. And then I'll list it for sale. And when that sells, I can pay you back, or I'll just keep paying back. So luckily the investor was like, I mean, he didn't have any options, you know what I mean? But he attached a lien to another property, and I kept working. And when that sold, I got him all of it back, but like a little bit of money. You know? So it was intense. It was tough. And I always tell people, like, I'm honestly very genuinely happy that I lost money, because I learned so much more than if I would have made money. Probably could have put myself in a worse situation. However, it didn't have to be $43,000. Like, I would have preferred it cheaper. Yeah, exactly.
Sure.
Right. So, but I learned so much.
Well, I do always say, I chose the school of hard knocks, especially when it comes to my real estate investing. Like, I didn't go get a guru and spend $50,000. I just lost $50,000 taking action and making decisions I shouldn't have made. Right. So exactly. You just did it all in one deal when I probably did it over a couple of years.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
So at what point did you get your real estate license because it sounded like you didn't have it.
I didn't have it before. Yeah. I didn't have it when I bought the first flip. As soon as I finished renovations, and I'm not going to give the exact timeline, but probably about 5 years ago, or maybe it was 6 years ago when I finished renovation, I moved down here and I got my real estate license like shortly after that. So I've had my real estate license for somewhere around, I'm starting my 5th year, I believe. Okay. Yeah.
So why did you decide to get your real estate license?
Well, because I knew that I wanted to be in real estate, and I knew that I had so much I had to learn. So step one was like, hey, take my real estate courses just to learn that information, get my license, and then have my job, my day-to-day job, be in real estate, you know?
So you probably didn't know when you decided to take that action that the information that you learned from getting your license was never going to be used.
No, I didn't know that.
Okay. Because that's like one of my big, I think like right now, I think it's up to 75 hours to get your real estate license. Yeah. And I think that at least 25 hours of that should be like, this is how you actually do the job, right?
Absolutely.
Like teach people how to do the job. And maybe they'll just decide they don't want to take their test because they're going to be like, that's horrible. Why do I ever want to do that? Because, that's part of the reason why I do this is because so many people fail in the real estate business.
Yeah.
Like most people in your scenario there, they would have just filed Chapter 7. I'm out, like I'm never doing this real estate thing again, and went back to criminal justice. So yeah. I commend you on powering through that.
Thank you very much.
So then you get to Pittsburgh, and what happens from there?
Okay, so I moved to Pittsburgh, get my real estate license. I reconnect with the individual, Chris Bennett, that was flipping houses previously, when I was working $10 an hour for him. And then I start working with him, and he had a realtor or an agent at the time that he was listing his renovations, but it didn't take long for me to like swoop in because I was working with him daily and I was working really hard. I was grinding. It's all I did. You know what I mean? Like I didn't have friends or family or anything down here. It's all I did. I loved it. And so it didn't take long for me to get in with him listing his properties, which when you work with an investor as a realtor, you can gained some traction pretty quick. You know, they're buying a lot of houses and they're renovating and they're selling them, you know? So I started working with him. And then shortly after I was down here gaining some traction as an agent, he's like, hey man, he's like, I've always wanted to start up a real estate brokerage. And I'm like, I'm loving being a real estate agent. Like I want to be involved in that. So we started Lifespace together. Okay. We started Lifespace together. And then as it started out, he hired me as the manager, which is kind of a joke because we're just buddies and I have like 9 months of real estate. You know what I mean?
Right.
But so he was paying me a small salary, but like after, I'm gonna get these timelines mixed up. After 6 months or another 9 months, I was like, hey man, I don't want this salary. Like I want ownership in the company. Okay. And so he's like, yeah, for sure. So I gave up the salary, and it was kind of scary because now you're just all commission based as a realtor. Right. You know what I mean? That's a hard thing to do. But I gave that up and I took 30% ownership in the company, Lifespace, and just continued to work as a realtor. And then while this is happening, or very close, I started to acquire some properties for rental units with my company, Atlas Estates. And but continue to grow Lifespace. And I'm going to kind of fast track it here now on the Lifespace side. Fast forward Lifespace to now, we went back and forth. I went 30% ownership to 50% ownership. And now we're at the point where we got to a point where he's really busy with a lot going on. And we kind of like, hey, I either need to buy you out or you need to buy me out. So I'm now majority owner. I'm 90% owner of the company Lifespace. But I wouldn't have been able to start at Lifespace without Chris. I mean, that was him. He's the founder. And but it's just how business played out, you know?
So tell me about that. So you got your real estate license and then you wanted to be involved in Lifespace. But like me knowing what I know, building a real estate brokerage, it isn't easy, right?
Absolutely.
So why did you want to not only take more equity, but eventually become the majority owner in it when you know that that's pretty much a full-time job in itself? And now you have, how many agents do you have?
13, I think. Yeah,
13 agents that are all dependent on you. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, for sure. So, man, I just keep going back to this, but I love real estate so much that like you have 24 hours in a day, right? And I go to bed super early, but I also get up very early, you know, and I work really hard. That's all I do. But like real estate is my work and real estate is my play. So I get 16 hours a day or whatever the number is. It's not every single day. You know what I mean? But if I want, I designate 8 hours of work and 8 hours of play or however you want to divvy that up. So like I knew I had time. I knew it's what I want to be involved in on multiple different levels of real estate. So that wasn't a concern for me. Like the workload wasn't a concern. I knew I was going to be doing it anyways, you know?
Okay. So the workload's not a concern. What about like liability? Like why wouldn't you just go start a team and have like, let's just say Keller Williams, have them have all the liability and all that?
Yeah. I don't know, man. I didn't realize, I think I'm an entrepreneur at heart. Okay. And I didn't know that at all. But looking back, I realized I was, even at a young age, because I'll tell a story about how I realized I was an entrepreneur. Thinking back is like, so when my parents had divorced, and when they divorced, I lived with my dad. Well, it was back and forth, but when I was living with my dad in Titusville, Pennsylvania, it was just bachelors. It was me, my brother, and my dad, and he worked a lot. And so he would just buy like Hot Pockets and Pop-Tarts, and, you know, like we wouldn't have cooked meals. But so he would overload our cupboards with Pop-Tarts. I'm talking like family size, massive boxes of Pop-Tarts. So there was so many in there. I was like, why does your dad keep buying this? I would take those Pop-Tarts and I would take them to school and I'd sell those Pop-Tarts out of my locker. Like he bought them. I took them to school and I sold them. Then I started like making not much money off Pop-Tarts, you know what I mean? But making money off Pop-Tarts. I mean, nothing, you know what I mean?
Right.
But making money off Pop-Tarts. I wasn't buying them and I was selling them. I kept everything. Then I was going to my grandma's, and I was young. I was like 8th grade or 9th grade. And then I was like, I'm making some money. So I would like go to my grandma's. She would cut out coupons of Pop for me. So I'd go buy 24 packs of Pop, and I was selling Pop-Tarts, and I was selling Pop, and I was selling everything out of my locker and making some money. And then one day after lunch, it was a frantic, everyone's gathering around Jesse's locker trying to get Pop before the bell rings. And someone knocked a can out and landed and sprayed everywhere. And I got in trouble by the principal. He was like, you're not a Walmart. You can't sell. So shut down that business, you know? But looking back, like, that's just one story. There were so many different stories that I wanted, like, I was doing my own thing. I was working for myself. And so fast forward to today, I'm very confident, whether it's cocky or confident. I know I'm going to be successful. I have this extremely intense work ethic and like this drive that I have that I can't tell you exactly why, but it's there, and I'm not going to work for someone else, you know? So I think that's why I just want to do my own thing.
Yeah. You know, I get the question a lot when people, you know, talk about my brokerage and they're like, why didn't you just go get a franchise? And I'm like, because that's not mine.
Absolutely.
You know, that's somebody else's
Absolutely.
franchise. Don't get me wrong, there's value to it, but somebody else's. Like, I want to build my own, you know? So I totally get that. Now, when you look at moving forward, like, what's your aspirations on the real estate brokerage side of things compared to your investing? Because investing is a huge part of your life.
It is, absolutely. You know, I'm at an interesting point in business where I'm trying to grow both of these companies, which we'll get into Atlas Estates in a little bit. But I'm trying to grow both these companies. And I've heard people say before, which I bowed out a little bit of a couple other companies, is that it doesn't make sense. I'm going to butcher this. It doesn't make sense to have like 5 companies and put 20% effort into that many. You know what I mean? And
right.
So I'm at this interesting point where I have 2 companies and 2 main focuses right now. And then I think that I need to hire on, like, on the brokerage side. And so that I can help grow that, or maybe partner up with someone that is willing and has the time to put that effort in, you know, specifically because Atlas Estates, which I'm sole owner in and always have been, is really ramping up, you know. And to be honest with you, I genuinely enjoyed being a real estate agent, but to be a good agent, it is 24/7, which I don't mind now. I know that in the future it will bother me because I'm putting in the work now to where if I want to retire in 5 years or 10 years or whatever the number is, I can. I'm sure I won't, but I want to have that option. So I'm transitioning a little bit personally as less of a real estate agent, more of a manager of Lifespace, and more of an investor of Atlas Estates, you know?
Gotcha. Okay, well, let's talk about your team, because I know that just like me, you're only as good as your weakest link. So how's your team structured, and, you know, how do you envision it growing moving forward?
With Lifespace?
Both of it, yeah.
Okay. With Lifespace, as I'm sure you've experienced and you learn, you will hire on 10 agents, but 2 or 20% perform, you know, and it is that's not a knock to them at all. It's very difficult to gain traction as a real estate agent. You know what I mean? Like, it's all commission based, and there's 7,000. I don't know what the number is. I think 7,000.
There's like 7,500 agents.
Okay, right? Yeah, so it's hard, but we do have a really good group of agents, and everyone has their own niche. You know what I mean? I mean, we have a couple agents that work specifically with investors, or a little bit more on a commercial side, not a commercial brokerage, but commercial side of things. We got some agents that are like in certain areas, or first-time home buyers, you know. But I plan on building the team by kind of diversifying and having. Right now, we're a young brokerage, but that's how it played out. I would like to get a little bit of an older demographic, or reach the older demographic that we don't reach now, probably because we have just younger agents, you know? So I'd like to diversify the Lifespace team a little bit in the future.
Well, I'm going to kind of call you out a little bit on that. Okay. Don't take offense to this, but when I go to your website, I'm looking around, first thing I did is you're the owner of the company, so I click on you. Yeah. And, you know, like your bio, your profile in there is really, it's specifically designed for somebody younger, right? Uh-huh. Like just the way you talk.
Yeah,
you
for
talk
sure.
about
Absolutely.
being inked up and all
Absolutely.
this stuff, right? So, but is that a bad thing to just attract the younger clientele?
No, not at all. Not at all. And I mean, we've had a lot of success there, but I also feel like, and I'm not trying to, like, I think that's our brand. You know what I mean? But, and we've had success that way, but I don't want to rule out like our other consumers or other buyers. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like I'm putting myself maybe too much into a niche if we just focus specifically on them, you know?
Absolutely.
But I also don't want to lose that image of the brand. So it's like walking that line of like keeping this young vibe versus.
How do you fix that though? Do you go and get a couple like older agents?
I think that may be the case. I don't know. Can you help me out with that? I'm not sure.
I don't know. I'd have to look at what the average age of our demographic is. I don't even know. At least you know. I really don't know. I mean, we have, I think we're going to be pushing 30 agents here. And I mean, we're all over the board with what we do. Just like, like you said, investments and some doing residential and stuff like that. But, so how is your investment team structured?
Yeah, cool. So Atlas Estates, that's a whole nother thing. We have a small in-house crew. So we were flipping strictly with subs and doing renovations. We both flip, we buy, renovate, and resell. We buy, renovate, and keep as rentals, So we have 36 units in Atlas Estates, and we're specifically focusing on the market, the Homestead, Munhall, West Homestead market that I told you about, to kind of like, I don't want to word this. I don't like to say take control, but
come on, you want to own it. You want to own that market.
Yeah, okay. Understand it and have a good grip on that market, But so when we started out, we're subbing everything out, and like there are extreme challenges with anyone that's flipped a house or renovated a house. Like, okay, finding good contractors, number one. Finding you can find a good contractor, but like somewhat reasonably priced, reliable. Okay, then figure out all those three. Then you need like 5 or 7 or 8 different contractors, because you got like your electricians and your plumbers and all that. So you need to coordinate their schedules. And then when one guy says it'll be done on a Tuesday and the next guy wants to start on a Wednesday, but he's not, then your schedules are thrown out. There was just scheduling nightmares and contractor nightmares. And so I was like, why do I not start an in-house construction crew? So my brother, who's been working with me from day one on Atlas Estates, he manages the crew. And so it's someone that I trust. He's obviously very reliable, and we have a good relationship. And so he's on site. And so we started hiring an in-house construction crew. That way we still sub all our mechanics out and a couple other things here and there, but like they do all the finishing work. We're doing like flooring and framing and, well, that's not finishing, but framing and flooring and trim and windows, kitchens and baths, but like all our mechanics usually sub some roofs if they're pretty bad, or too steep. A couple other things, but we've had great success in that. And so I'm at this point with Atlas Estates where like I personally think, and this is all opinion based, you know what I mean? But like I personally think there's like 3 main elements to what we're doing in Atlas Estates. It's like having enough capital or the funds to work with, acquiring the properties, and handling the acquisition side of things, and then it's facilitating the actual renovations. And so currently at this point in our company, like we have a lot of investors backing us. As you get better and you prove yourself more, it's a lot easier to find that capital. So it's currently not a problem with the investment side. It has not been an issue acquiring enough properties. I mean, we have more properties coming in than we can handle. And so now the growing pains of the company is hiring more in-house construction crew. And it's just difficult finding honest, trustworthy, reliable people. That's it.
Yeah.
That has some scale. You know what I mean?
I mean, whether you're a real estate agent and investor, one of the biggest headaches is dealing with contractors because they're so unreliable, right? I mean, it's you either get a GC who knows what he's doing and bends you over, or you get the guy that's affordable, but you have to chase him down every Wednesday to see where the hell he's at.
That's exactly right.
Why aren't you working on my property right now?
That's exactly right.
Okay, so that's how your team's structured. Now, you talk about your brother. Sounds like he's a pretty big part of your team.
Huge, yeah, absolutely.
So, like, how is his role structured? He's not an equity owner? So.
He's not, no. He's just an employee of the company. Okay. And he manages our crew, our construction crew. Like I said, we only have technically 4 full-time guys. There's a handful of guys that maybe offering a position that's been working with us a lot lately, like 2 or 3 more. And then, like I said, a list of subs that we work with regularly. But Scott is on, his name's Scott. He's on site daily. He's doing the physical construction on the properties, and then also jumping around and coordinating. Like if we have a couple guys over here or one guy over here, then he'll stop, line up materials, this and that. So he runs a construction crew day to day, honestly.
Younger brother or older brother?
He's actually older than me.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
So, at first I wondered if it'd be like, I'm the boss, I'm the younger brother. It's not an issue.
Really?
It's not an issue at all. Like he's good at construction and I'm good at business. It just so happened, the roles we fell into. That's it.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. My brother and I, we have our ups and downs, and I think a lot of it has to do because he is my older brother. But, we try and work through it the best we can.
Yeah, absolutely. It can be challenging at times.
Keep it rolling. So tell me, you've kind of spoken a lot on it, but from the time you wake up to the time you go to sleep, what's a day in the life of Jesse look like?
Okay. It jumps around. Yesterday was an awesome day, man. I'll tell you about yesterday because
Sure.
It was a good day. I wake up early, okay? It jumps back and forth, but anywhere between 5 and 6, okay? I wake up and I spend 30 minutes trying to wake up my fiance or longer to go to the gym. Go to the gym. We do some workout. I come home. Majority of the time, I go to all my properties that are active properties, check in with them. My brother starts at 7. I'll stop. I'll see, hey, any issues? What's going on? Do we need some materials? Do we need to line something up? Project manager, what do we need to order coming up soon? Check in with everyone. I'll also coordinate with subs, stop at properties, meet a plumber here, and handle those things. And then I usually go into the office. I'm at the Lifespace office for a big chunk of the day, doing some management stuff, helping out with my other agents. Meanwhile, I'm still personally doing my own real estate thing. Like yesterday specifically, I put a $500,000 house under contract for my buyers, and then put a $200,000 house under contract, which representing both sides. So I'm the dual agent. So it's a combination of a little bit of gym in the morning, a little bit of personal stuff, Atlas Estates project managing, flowing into some managing of Lifespace, flowing into being a personal realtor myself, and then having a little family time with my fiance and my dogs. At the end of the day, but it's an hour or 2 hours max at night, and then I'm in bed and up and doing it again.
What time do you go to bed? I
go to bed early. I fall asleep at there's times I fall asleep as early as 9:30, but anywhere between 9:30 and 10:30.
Okay. Yeah. I'm a night owl.
Are you?
I have trouble talking myself into anything earlier than 11 o'clock.
Gotcha.
And then I'm up at 4:30 trying to go to the gym and do the right things, right?
No, I fall asleep early. I get up early, but I fall asleep early. So if you look at the hours I sleep, it's a lot, 7 or 8 hours a night usually. But
well, you're obviously successful, but there had to have been a time where you felt like you were failing. Maybe it was when you lost $43,000 on your first deal. But talk about the toughest time that you ran into in your career and what you did to power through it and why you powered through it.
I don't think losing a big chunk of cash was obviously a huge hit, right? And that was early in the career, but I don't want to pinpoint a specific time that I say this was really difficult. Generally speaking, we're talking about things going well and being successful, but we're not touching base on how hard it is and all the challenges and the struggles with it, man. I mean, to this day, and I think it will be this for a long time because it's my personality. To this day, I'll have months where I'm like, if you look at my bank account this month, I'm killing it. And I'm awesome. And then you look at it next month, it's like, what happened? It's a roller coaster of emotions. It's mentally draining to be an entrepreneur and run companies. It's mentally draining. And there's personal strain on your relationships and family relationships. And my family at first did not understand. They did not agree. I worked every day, all day, But I'm like, listen, I want to work 24/7 now, so that in the future, if I don't want to work, I don't have to. And when you're working a 9 to 5 in 10 years from now, and I'm not, then you'll get it, I think. You know what I mean? But they've stopped now. They get it and they see that my success and it's going well. But let me jump back. Generally speaking, just being an entrepreneur and the challenges of managing your guys and your money and your cash flow and the ups and downs and the unpredictables, it is exhausting. Yeah. And it's stress and it's pressure. And, now I'm responsible on Atlas Estates. I'm responsible for 4 individuals' livelihood. I'm there. If I don't find properties and make the right decisions and do renovations and they don't have a job, that's on me. It's a lot of pressure. So I think I would like to say, generally speaking, it can be fun. It can be so rewarding, but it's not for everyone. It's very difficult. And I think the biggest factor in being successful, in my opinion, is getting your mental state right. And I'm a huge advocate for the power of positive thinking.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm a huge advocate. I read a bunch of those books. But if you don't have a good mindset and a strong mental capacity, then you'll probably fail. So if you can work on like adjusting your mindset and getting your mindset right, then you can power through any of those challenges that you will face throughout your entrepreneurial life.
You know, it's funny. So my partner and I, we just went to a real estate conference in Los Angeles. And we're looking at this stage of like all these agents that are up there making millions of dollars a year selling real estate, right?
Yeah.
And because of the emotional roller coaster you're talking about, we just both look at each other like, man, maybe we should just like not invest in real estate and just focus solely on selling real estate, right?
Yeah.
Like, looks like it's a lot easier.
Yeah, exactly.
Because there's those moments when you go from, you know, let's just say April, your bank account has $100,000 clear in it, and you're like, wow, this is awesome. And then in the end of May, you're at like $1,200 in your account. You're like, what the hell just happened? I had to pay payroll, and I had to do this, and I had to do that. And it can go quick, and it's not easy to go through that. But, yeah, I like that you don't like to talk about a specific moment, but you definitely know there's challenges.
Absolutely.
And you just got to think positively and keep going through it.
Yes, absolutely. You just have some confidence and just straight ahead.
I like it. So are you a goal-oriented person?
Absolutely.
Okay, so where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Okay, so I bought this key holder for rentals. You know, I on Atlas Estates side, I want rentals. I'm flipping now, but it's just to bring in some income to buy more rentals. I want rentals, you know, because I want to have these properties in place and just a retirement plan in the future. Mm-hmm. But so one of the goals I have now is I got on Amazon. I was looking for like I'm sure there's bigger, but I was looking for the biggest key holder that I could find because I want every slot filled, and it's 400. So one of the goals now is to acquire 400 rental units, and I'm at 36, so I'm a little while away. But to be honest with you, it starts slow, just like anything. There's a few a year, whatever, and like, you know, right now, I mean, we've bought like 16 or 17 so far this year, you know, and so it's been a huge year, and like it's rolling. Things can happen, but it's rolling, you know what I mean? Right. And so I think that I'll be able to hit 400 units in the next 4 to 5 years.
You know, it's funny, when I first started out, I also buy rentals, and I was thinking like, man, I would love to have 25 rentals by the time I'm 40, right? Yeah. 25 doors. Yeah. And to me at the time, I was like 24 years old. I was like, man, this is going to be hard, you know? And then, like, by the time I was, like, 28, I was like, okay, I already hit 25 units, so what am I going to do now? You know what I mean? So then I had to refocus and kind of, you know, so now it's kind of morphed into I want this many paid off doors and this many doors total. And
yeah.
But you kind of set those goals. So 400 units you think you can do in 5 years.
That's the plan.
It's recorded now.
I know. So it's legit. I'm held accountable.
Okay, you're held accountable.
But what I do want to say something about that real fast is that now I'm just a very small investor in this company. It's called Bricks Management. Mm-hmm. And Justin Repus, he runs this company, Bricks Management, property management company. And he has my 36 units we're at 36 and another 40 or 50, I think. So he's killing it. He's just a couple years younger than me, so it's weird to say like this young kid, you know what I mean? But he reminds me of me a lot, and like we're a lot more similar. I'm finding out lately than I even thought. But he is killing it, and he's managing all my units, and we have a great relationship. I'm a small investor in the company, so it behooves me to place my units with him as well. And I wouldn't be able to hit those 400 units or even touch management of them without Justin and Bricks Management.
Very cool. So that's was that something that just kind of came up out of the blue, or was planned out?
Yeah. So what happened was I had a goal of 25 units, and when I hit 25 units, I want to start an in-house property management company. So I'm gaining traction. I'm getting close to 25 units. Meanwhile, I wanted to hire an assistant personally as a realtor. And so I'm starting interviewing people as an assistant, and Justin interviewed for the position. And after he left, I was like, that dude is motivated. Like he is, I was like, first I was super motivated, reminds me of me. I cannot hire him as an assistant because he'll be there for 3 months and then he'll own a company. Yeah, right. So I was, maybe I was at the 25 units or whatever it was. So like a few weeks later, I called him and or I texted him. I was like, hey man, I don't think it's gonna work out. I'll let you know, whatever. And he's like, no worries. I was like, let's be in touch. Let's figure something out. So a few weeks later, I called him. I was like, dude, do you want to start a property management company? He's like, absolutely. and he was managing student housing in West Virginia. Managed like, I'm gonna be wrong, but I think it was like 700 beds or something like that. He had like 15 employees underneath him, and he's like, dude, yes, absolutely. So we started meeting, putting things together, and we started the company as 50-50 because my initial intention was like, I'm going to do some property management, and this and that. It did not take long before I'm like, I don't want to property management or manage these units, and he's doing good, he's killing it. So I'm just a very small investor in that company.
Well, I like the fact that you were, I guess not too greedy, and you were able to realize that the situation has turned into him basically running the entire company. You're like, hey, look, why don't I just be a silent partner?
Yes, that's exactly what it is. Absolutely, man. It's just not – I like to think that, like, I do the right thing. You know what I mean? And he was just grinding and getting after it, and I was like, oh, I'm going to have to give up my ownership like that. I didn't do anything, period, But I have helped out. I was able to help start the company because I started making a payment to Bricks Management through Atlas Estates that I was managing before, and so I was helping pay him, you know what I mean? And it's worked out. It's worked out.
That's awesome. Yeah, I always see it, and I try and have the open line of communication with my partners. Like, for instance, one of my partners, he's kind of the boots on the ground, managing all the projects, so similar to like what your brother's doing, only he's an equity owner in the company. And I'm just like, dude, you need to get compensated for all the extra work you're doing. So we pay him like an upfront management fee, essentially, to manage the projects. And because he deserves a comfortable living too, not just when closing happens.
Absolutely.
You got to be aware of those things. Okay, so we're getting towards the end here. I don't want to keep you too long because obviously you're a busy guy. But I do want to touch on a couple of things. Can you, a lot of people listening, not that we have a ton of listeners, but I'm sure that they all aspire to be bigger and better than they are currently. And you had some opportunities to have your own TV show. And a lot of people think that that's like the wow experience. Can you give us some pros and cons and maybe tell a little bit about your experience with HGTV and things that happened after that?
Yeah, for sure. So I personally initially was not approached by a production company. It was my business partner, Chris, in Lifespace, that I mentioned earlier. He flips houses as well. So this production company approached Chris and was like, we see you're flipping houses. Like, we want to film you guys. So we sat down and with the production company. And as I mentioned previously, I was his agent listing all his properties. So we sat down with them and we Skype interviewed, and I was dressed up and I had a bow tie on. And they're like, we love you guys. We have 2 requirements, and they're both for Jesse. We want him to keep his beard and wear a bow tie at all times. So I was like, all right, that sounds good. I'll run with the bow tie thing. And so I was just a very small part of that show. And we aired, we had 1.6 million viewers, and everything went really well. We thought we were going to get a season, but HGTV came back and was just like, hey, we're going to go a different direction. So it's kind of like as fast as it came, it went, But then fast forward to probably a year later, I was heavy into Atlas Estates doing flips, and then we were approached by a production company, and we sat down with them, and I was like, I went through this process before, I'm familiar with it. So we took all these steps, and it was going to be me as a developer investor, my fiance as my realtor, which is very true, and then my brother as my contractor. And so we took all these steps, and it got to the point where like, yeah, we want to take the next step with you. I don't know what that would have turned into, if it would have turned into a pilot episode or a season. But they said, but you have to commit to 10 houses a year, 10 flips. And at that time, it was only like my second year back into flipping. We were only doing like a couple a year, like 3 or 4. And I was like, I know how much effort this takes, and I don't want to, like, things are going well, and I don't want to ruin it. So I said no at this point. Like, I can't commit to that. I don't want to ruin my business. So it's, kind of a bittersweet feeling. But as I mentioned to you earlier, it's like, and this is the honest to God truth, like, I am so happy where I'm at in life and everything that's going. And, like, I love real estate so much. And I was a little bit nervous that, like, if we did get a show and it turned into any type of fame or anything that my life would be going a different direction. And I didn't know if I was going to love that or not. And so I think it's for the best that nothing ended up transpiring with that.
So how long did it take to record one episode? Because I've heard mixed things on this. I know somebody else who did an HGTV show.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you this. I remember this specifically. You do a sizzle reel before you get, like it's a 5-minute video. Okay, a 5-minute video put together to pitch to HGTV or other networks. And I remember this specifically because it was like 24 hours of like 2 days of 12-hour days, you know what I mean, of filming and to put together a 5-minute.
Just for the 5 minutes.
Yeah. So the episode was, I can't put a time on it because it was throughout the renovations, you know what I mean? It was a lot of work for an hour episode.
Well, I will say, I think the one really positive thing that came out of it, and you may or may not realize it, but you've kind of created your image now because of the bow tie and the beard.
That's exactly right.
You have your image you can hang your hat on. I recently met with a guy who wants to get his real estate license, and he has a big afro. And I'm like, dude, you got to own this. This has to be part of your persona. And he was like on the fence about it. He's like, I don't know. And I'm like, I'm telling you, that's what I would do.
It's huge. It's huge, man. So, I want to touch base on this because you're exactly right. It has created my image, and I ran with that. And so with my company, Atlas Estates, I don't know if maybe you've noticed or haven't noticed this or not. You will, if not, because you're paying attention now. But there's a lot of people that are flipping houses. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
And so when I was working as an agent, heavy as an agent, I'd go into houses that are flipped. And the buyers, now they're like, hey, who flipped this house? Like, is it mom and pop? Like, what type of work is done, this and that? But they would never know unless you go to the site, like look into it. You know what I mean? They would never know just looking at the renovation. So every house that we renovate now, I incorporate a bow tie somewhere within the house. A couple houses ago, we had a wooden bow tie carved out the drywall, put in the wall. Last house, the penny tile in the entry when you walk in, there's a bow tie in the penny tile. Next house, we're doing custom metal railings, bow tie in the middle. So it will take some time, but I promise you that we're building up this good reputation. When you see a house with a bow tie in it, you'll know that's Jesse Wig of Atlas Estates, and that's the plan.
It's cool, but there's a whole other side of that, which you may or may not think about. And the reason why it's so hard to find out who's flipping these houses is because of the legal aspects of it, right? So let's say one of your contractors does something incorrectly, and then the buyer has, I think it's either 3 or 5 years to sue you down the road for the work that you did on the property. So like what a lot of these flippers are doing nowadays is and I don't know how many people know this, but they'll do it for 1 or 2 years, then they'll close that LLC, so now they can't be sued anymore, and they'll open a new LLC and keep flipping. So are you using the same entity the whole time?
I primarily do use the same entity, but here's the thing. I mean, I do separate certain projects. I'm buying a school, 50,000 square foot high school, we're putting in a separate entity. So there are certain things I put in separate entities, but this is my thing. This could be bad business. I don't know, but I'm going to say it. It's so important to me to put out a good product and to stand behind the product that we put together or put out there, that like there will be issues. You're going to run into issues. There's things we overlook. There's things that happen, but like it's more important to me to put out a good product and address those issues for years to come and be a man of my word. And I put my face out there. I'm Jesse Wig with Atlas Estates. This is my product. You know what I mean? To where than it is for me to make a ton of money or close LLCs years later because you don't want to get sued because you did shitty work or whatever the number is. You know what I mean? But that's a gamble I'm willing to take.
I respect that. I like that a lot. Not a lot of people are willing to stand behind their work, and not that I don't think they intentionally like to do shady work. It's just in the world that we live in. I mean, you're getting sued left and right for stupid stuff all the time, So.
Absolutely.
Okay, so moving forward, there's one last question before we get into the blitz round, and that's, you got to tell me one, and you're good with stories, so this should work for you. You got to tell me the most funny or the first funny story that comes to your brain about your career in real estate, and just one that just always is going to stick with you.
Oh, God, that's so much pressure. Let me say this before I come up with a story. Just the other day, my fiance, she was like, oh, this is your favorite song or this is your favorite food. I don't know why this weighs heavy with me, but I don't like to designate like, yes, this is my favorite something. Now you're asking me a question for like the story that sticks out.
Favorite funny story,
what I mean?
Yep.
And I can't commit to that right now. Let's see. You know what I want to say? This hasn't happened yet. This is going to happen.
Okay, it's going to happen. You're telling me a future story.
This is going to happen.
Okay.
And I'm so excited about this story that it may be my highlight. You know what I mean? So we're closing on that 50,000 square foot high school.
Right.
This week. Should have happened today. Now it's happened to Thursday. I figured. And we're going to put together some really cool marketing videos. So the first thing we're going to do before we even start renovating this is we're buying a couple go-karts, we're buying a bunch of paintball guns, and we're putting 3 balloons off the back of the go-karts. And then we're going to set up the stairs to have
I know where you're going with already.
And we're going to do a real live Mario Kart.
Yep.
And we're going to rip around and we're going to shoot down the balloons. And if you 3 of your balloons pop, then you're out. You know what I mean? So we're going to do a ton of filming. I'm starting a YouTube channel very soon. And that will probably be the first thing we launch.
That's awesome.
So you'll have to watch for that. Yeah, Jesse Wig, Atlas Estates.
You got to invite me. I want to be there.
You're in.
All right.
You're in.
I don't need to drive. I just want to watch.
Gotcha.
Like, I don't need to. I've been shot enough times with paintball guns. So.
Gotcha.
Okay, so before we move forward, then real quick, so you bought this 50,000 square foot high school, right?
Yeah.
I've thought about it before. I've seen because in our area, if anybody's listening from out of town, the city of Pittsburgh sold off a bunch of its schools, pretty cheap too. I don't know what you acquired yours for.
A real good number.
A real good number. So I think the one I was looking at was like $225,000, which you just can't buy like real estate that much real estate for $225,000. But it's the question is, what do you do with it?
Yeah.
Right? Because that's like I thought about it, and then like I racked my brain with like 300 million ideas, and I couldn't come up with it. So what in the world are you doing with this high school?
Well, see, now the short answer is I don't know. Okay, but I got it for such a good number that worst case scenario, if I run through 300, did you say 300 million? 300 million, yeah. If I run through 300 million ideas and none of those work from a financial standpoint or zoning or any other challenges you face, I can list it for sale in the active market and sell it and get my money back, you know? So now I want it. Right. And I'm going to make something happen. We're obviously considering the idea of converting it into apartments. We're looking into.
Which would cost a lot of money.
Absolutely, yeah. I had someone tell me they think around the 3 million to 4 million mark. So I'll have to raise some funds. But also looking into it's starting to gain a lot of attention is like the co-working space. You know, so multiple different companies in a building where they have community space. I mean, it's so cool. We have a full gymnasium. We have a full auditorium. So I'm just getting ideas left and right. Like, hey, you should use this auditorium for a wedding venue or a music venue. Hey, you could use the gymnasium for like a flea market. So like, there's a lot of options that we're going to be looking into and seeing what makes sense from the number standpoint, and also working with community and kind of seeing what they would like to see as well. So hopefully we can find common ground and make that come together. You're
pretty good at hoops. I saw the video of you shooting hoops there.
You know, and I have to say this because this is the truth. That was the first take. It was one and done.
You were nothing but net. That was the first take.
No, and I think I said swish or something too. Yeah. That was lucky. Okay, that doesn't happen. But the truth is that was the first cut.
What about on the other one where you're on the hoverboard?
No, that was I tried a million times.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's the truth there. But the swish at the foul line or moonwalk to the swish, that was one cut.
All right.
Yeah.
I'll take your word for it.
Yep.
All right, so we're gonna enter the blitz round. I ask the same 5 questions that everybody comes on. What's your favorite technology tool?
I'm going to say the Atlas Estates app. It's not out yet. That's what I'll be doing.
What is the Atlas Estates app?
Yeah, so my Droid app is done, or Android app is done, and the Apple app will be done here in the next couple weeks. To summarize, it's an app that allows all my private money investors to track their funds, watch the progress of the house, any changes, any updates, and watch their money accrue interest.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's going to be cool.
I think that you should license that technology out for other flippers.
I had 2 other people tell me that. Yeah. There's a lot of kinks I got to work out on at first. I kept coming back to this developer saying, can I add to this? Can I add to this? So
where'd you get the developer from, like Fiverr? Or?
I did, Fiverr.
Yeah.
It's a killer site.
It's awesome. I've hired people from there all the time.
Yeah.
What's your favorite real estate book?
Honestly, The Cell.
The Sale.
The Cell.
The Cell.
The Cell by Frederick. Okay, $1 Million Listing in New York.
Yep.
Frederick, I forget. Euclid.
Euclid.
Frederick Euclid. It was my favorite book.
Really?
Yeah.
Like, what about the book did you like?
It was very interesting to me to see his story and the progression of like how he went from not having a real estate license to getting his real estate license to killing it. That's it.
I'm adding it to my list.
It's interesting.
I mean, obviously, most people say like, you know, Robert Kiyosaki.
I was gonna say Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Rich Dad Poor Dad, or The Millionaire Real Estate Agent.
I'm reading 10X now with Grant Cardone. You know, and Relentless, which is not a real estate book, but it's awesome.
So if you weren't in real estate, what would you be doing?
Owning some other company.
You have no idea what that other company would be?
No, I'm looking at houses in Florida right now. We're looking to get a snowbird house, and I was telling Marissa, that my fiance, that I was like, hey, when I'm down here, I'm going to start a landscaping company. I don't know what it would be. I don't know what it would be. I would own another company. And what would I do? Probably something in the service industry. I like to talk to people. I like to be involved.
You're going to mow lawns with a bow tie and a beard?
Hey, whatever I have to do.
Yeah, and I've said this before off the podcast. I'm very jealous of your beard because I can't grow it, so I like it.
Well, it took years. And just for the record, this is honey brown. It's not red. So honey brown. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So just
I'm gonna hold back all my redhead jokes right now. So, what's your favorite hobby?
God, I can't say real estate, right?
You can't say real estate. Outside of real estate, what's your favorite hobby?
Is working out a hobby?
Sure.
I'll say that. I'm hit or miss. Working out. I really enjoy just
like strength training or
a
cardio?
Little bit. I mean, I do a little bit of cardio, a little bit of strength training. I feel so good afterwards. It's like there's a science behind it. You know,
look, we can do this. We're on video, so if you want to go check it on YouTube, this is what somebody works out. And this is somebody who doesn't like to work out. And what we look like.
Hey, I saw your post lately. You're getting into it.
Oh yeah. No, I work out. I just don't like to work out. So
I gotcha.
There's a difference.
I guess that's true.
All right. So last question: what's your dream vacation?
We've been doing a lot of traveling lately. This might sound dumb because I'm not going to say some crazy country. It will be to hop in a van and travel the United States and stop in spot to spot, but just like a camper van. I
don't think that's dumb. I mean, I did a lot of, we grew up poor, and my mom just used to say our summer vacation was get in our crappy car and let's drive around. We stayed in crappy motels and we just explored the U.S.
That's pretty cool. That's really cool.
That's like part of my childhood, I'll never forget that.
I mean, don't get me wrong. There's 1,000 places I want to go to and I travel to, you know what I mean? But I just think it would be, my fiance and I did that in Iceland. We went to Iceland last year, I think, and we rented a camper van and traveled for 6 days around the island or the continent. It was unbelievable. Yeah. Now, I don't think the United States probably doesn't have quite the scenery.
Probably not.
You know what I mean? But I have heard from this older couple when we were on the plane, they were like, you're traveling all over the place and there's so many good sites in the United States. I was like, all right, well, we'll check it out. So we want to eventually get a camper van or make a camper van and put our dogs. Yeah.
Sure, why not?
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's a great idea. I mean, I can see myself. I always say I'm never going to fully retire, but when I do retire, I'm going to travel a lot.
Yeah.
I can see myself having like an RV or something where, so I don't have to buy a place in Dallas. I can I'm a Cowboys fan.
I gotcha.
So I got to have those season tickets. So I got to get down there when I can.
Coming from the Pittsburgh podcast.
Yeah, exactly. I know, right? So, hey, man, thanks for coming. I really appreciate all your time. You didn't have to do it, but
thank you for having me.
We're going to get you all blasted out. Where can people find more about you, Jesse?
I think the best place is just follow me on Instagram at Jesse Wig, JESSEWIG, and from there you can link up to every company I'm involved in.
Awesome. Well, hey, go follow Jesse, and we'll talk to you soon, Jesse. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, guys. Well, another great podcast. Follow Jesse on Instagram and check out his companies. You can also follow me on Instagram at ENS Hoover or on Twitter at ENS Hoover, or visit our website, dhrea.com, for more information on our company, and we'll check you out on the next episode.